Connor Brown. As I said, I'm Tyson Halsey, president of Optima Process Systems. And what we do is we provide process technology solutions, principally in the extraction space, to the hemp and cannabis industry. Optima also provides compliance consulting, including ISO 9001, ISO 17025, GMP, Good Manufacturing Processes, and EU GMP, as well as logistics and quality control. We're also targeting getting into the higher margin segment of the value chain through manufacturing gummies, terpene extraction, and formulation commercialization. I've introduced myself. I'm a shareholder activist, a money manager. I'm still a money manager. You can read things I've written over recent years on Seeking Alpha. We have Harper Howell, who is joining us. He's down in Kiwa and has stopped playing golf to join this call. Harper ran an extraction operation, still does. He's winding it down in Denver called Z3. And before that, he worked and was president of eLabs, where he did compliance for pharmaceutical and medical device and the food industry, which really complements our whole offering. He introduced Terry Leek, who sold a company recently to her company, Pure Hemp Collective, to Mile High Labs for $2.2 million. It was bought primarily for her expertise in gummy manufacturing, but she's really known as an expert formulator. And we have Connor Brown, who's on the call today. He's a industrial systems engineer. He operates right now in New York State a GMP certified high throughput CO2 extraction facility. And the rest of Optima's team are principally investment bankers and oil industry experts. Two of those are Peter Vellon. He's an engineer. He sits on the board of a public company. He was an investment banker for Bank of America, as well as Andrew Rosenfeld, who worked for Koch brothers, Marathon Oil. He was an equity analyst for 15 years. So we like to think that there is a lot of discipline that we bring to this industry, which doesn't always have a disciplined reputation. Our principal cash flow source will be extraction, lab extraction, removing THC from marijuana. We will also provide a turnkey solution, which will be quality controlled and offer compliance. And we think that this is very important just because the industry is heavily regulated, it's growing, and people want to know who they're buying what from and that they're credible entities. The systems we are offering to do are low cost. There is a lot of surplus equipment from the hemp industry, which blew up. A lot of people bet a lot of money buying labs, and they did not anticipate the decline in the price of hemp. And so there's a surplus of equipment. And if you know what that equipment is and how to buy it, you can buy it inexpensively, redeploy it in the marijuana space, and that's what we're doing. There's a large extractor up in Canada that presented last week, and they were saying that a typical operation will cost, is called ExtractX. They're quoting new labs in the $3.25 to $7.5 million level. We're offering our first opportunity is we will go in and actually do that set up an extraction lab in Oklahoma in an operating facility with no money up front. About the industry, it's high growth, but the numbers are this: $20 billion for the global cannabis market last year, and it should reach $90 billion by 2026, which would be a 28% compounded annual growth rate. The U.S. CBD market, which isn't as attractive from a margin standpoint, though it's still growing rapidly, was $4.7 billion in 2020 and should grow to $12 billion by 2023. Where we see higher margins is in the retail end. So we're looking at the or we're in the process of setting up gummy manufacturing facilities, one in Oklahoma, and then offering that as a compliant turnkey solution. The product set that we are looking at right now is, we received our first signed contract, and it is from a Toronto-based venture capital firm. We will be installing the facilities for marijuana extraction as well as cannabis. This is a simple installation. We're not doing the actual extraction. They will do that. We'll put in the equipment and we will certify it. The revenue should be $263,000, and we should net about $63,000 in gross profit or EBITDA. We are also working right now, negotiating. We have a term sheet we're going back and forth on with a marijuana grower. They're hydroponic. They're in Oklahoma. We've visited them a couple times. We've evaluated what equipment's necessary. And this opportunity could generate $2 million per year in EBITDA. We're also looking to set up our own gummy facility and lab in Oklahoma with Terry Leak. We're also doing a compliance overhaul and potency lab in New York State, and Connor can address that particular transaction. And through the person who set up this Toronto deal, we are looking at a New Mexico deal. These people have come to Colorado. They've looked at our equipment, and this could generate $1.5 million in revenue. We're also doing compliance for a company called Safer CBD in Colorado. So we're all have all the SOPs and compliance manuals already for gummy manufacture. And we look to do several other extraction opportunities. Each entity will be set up separately. We like to compartmentalize it, run each entity as a separate operation. Harper will be running the extraction operations. The gummy operation would be run by Terry Leak. So in conclusion, we're doing cryoethanol extraction. We're doing full lab installations, compliance, and management. We have an experienced team of operators, extractors, engineers, and bankers. We've a signed agreement. We're negotiating the final terms on a term sheet in Oklahoma, and we're looking at multiple projects right now. Each project should be cash flow generating in about 4 months. We're doing compliance, as I mentioned before, ISO compliance, as well as GMP, quality control, logistics, and with 5 extraction transactions, we hope to generate about $10 million per year in EBITDA. We are raising money for this. We're looking for $1.2 million valuation. That 20% would give you, $1.2 million would give you 20% of the company. And there you have it. We're ready to answer questions.
Can you take the slideshow down and then we can talk?
Yes.
That way you're fully visible. So, can you talk about how do you finance? This is all project financing, or is it an investment in the company, the equity investment?
Equity investment.
Okay, great. And so, what's the typical size of the project?
So what we're looking at is this is a smaller one. It'd be 1,000 pounds per day in Oklahoma, and we're looking for $500,000 to fund that. About $250,000 of that would be for the equipment.
So how much is this? $5,000 in equity?
Yes.
Are you using any debt?
No, but we'll explore that if we don't get the equity.
And could you use debt to finance the equipment?
We could, but I prefer not to.
Okay. Is the equipment like reusable or fungible?
It is absolutely reusable. We're buying it. Some of it's secondhand. Some of the equipment actually we have, or Harper has, in his facility in Colorado.
Can we get some discussion from Harper and Connor on the nature of what you guys are doing?
Absolutely. Harper?
Yeah, I'm here. What was that question?
Could you describe the Oklahoma facility and what we're doing there? And then Connor, maybe you could discuss the facility where we're going to do the potency lab and compliance. So go ahead, Harper.
So Oklahoma is going to be a ethanol extractor using a centrifuge. We are doing a cryoethanol extraction. The reason for that is the ethanol will be chilled to -40, and it leaves the waxes, and you end up with a cleaner crude from that extraction process. Then from there, we will distill it to make a THC distillate. Right now, the demand for THC distillate is high, and the pricing is very attractive margins. And really, our model there is we do not take possession or ownership of the material. Our client does and maintains that, and we are just collecting a fee for services to process that material. Furthermore, we will do a steam distillation in which there's a nice market for terpenes. And so if you do a steam distillation of the material before you extract, you're able to pull those terpenes without burning them, and actually they're quite valuable. And the terpenes are used, the terpenes are the smell and the flavor of the cannabis. And so the big demand for those is in vape cartridges, in which about 10 to 15% of the material in a vape cartridge are these terpenes. The other nice thing about the terpenes is they have no THC in them, so we can sell them across the country and internationally. And
We've
so
estimated that business could generate about $1 million a year in cash flow. I'm sorry, Garber.
Yeah, and so the facility capacity will be about 100 pounds per hour. And right now, to start, we would be running one shift. But of course, we have the capability to add a second shift, or to go, to run on weekends if there's a demand for that much production, which we are hoping there will be.
Connor, could you tell us about the potency lab and the compliance offering that we're proposing in New York?
Absolutely, yeah. So currently I operate a 3-shift high throughput CO2 extractor up in upstate New York. And it really represents a good client, a marketable client for Optima, because this is a company that was in hemp from its adoption and was able to avoid increasing their cost by investing in inflated equipment. So just as Tyson was mentioning, we can get this stuff secondhand, and the prices on this equipment have come down greatly. So now at this position, about 3 or 4 years into the market, at the extraction facility I'm working at, they're looking at growing into the regulations. Now that things are, now that THC is becoming legalized more across the United States, these companies want to look into compliance and regulation. One, because they have to, and two, it's their avenue to market. It's the only way to get there. In the future, at least it will be. So this offering that Optima has for the sub-state facility is a full ISO 17025 compliant full panel facility. So every product in the cannabis industry is basically subjected to the same set of panels for just safety, for consumer safety. And companies, and now the outsourcing of that is a very high expense for most of these companies, and the ability to do it in-house is very valuable. So it'll be a full 17025A ISO laboratory. It'll be a turnkey solution. We'll have quality manuals, SOPs. Optima will train the employees. There will be a service agreement for continued help along the learning curve that is inevitable. And that's about it for that lab.
Yeah, and just not to interrupt, Connor. So the what he's talking about with 17025 is a potency, heavy metal, and pesticide testing. So
right.
so what we'll be putting in there is what you would call a full panel testing laboratory that that can find any kind of pesticides or heavy metals or quality issues with the end product.
That's right.
So what, the story that where are we going to go with this is our hope is to have multiple extraction units in multiple states that are fully compliant, that are up and operating as marijuana laws roll forward, and that as this becomes mainstream would be a logical buyout candidate.
I just noticed that
Go ahead.
a lot of your locations are like in the south, but not, these are low tax states, high population versus like California. Is the largest consumer of cannabis.
We're going where we know we have clients right now, and it happens Oklahoma is relatively new, and so there's a real opportunity as those states.
Just some price arbitrage, et cetera.
Right. Well, we would be coming in with a skill set that many of these people simply don't have. And each state that legalizes will have people say, hey, I want to extract, I want to get into gummies. And we'll say, we'll show you how to do it. We'll charge you a fee. We'll make it ISO compliant, GMP compliant. And when we're doing that in multiple states, and if we're generating $10 or $20 million in EBITDA in 2 or 3 years, I think that we'd be very attractive when somebody larger wants to come in and really operate across the country.
And can you talk about technology? You have some intellectual property?
I would have to say we have no intellectual property. We have know-how. And we're not trying, bottom line is we know how to buy the stuff, set it up, and operate it. I think that Terry, with her formulations, has the opportunity for some IP, but none has been developed at this point. But operating know-how, I would say, should not be dismissed, because there have been so many people in this business who have raised money, bought equipment, and it's never worked. They've never run it, and they've never gotten the business off the ground. We're different than that, and our team has done that, and we're active operators.
Well, fantastic, Tyson. Listen, so we